Sometimes video games are easy, like The Land Before Time, Return to the Great Valley. But other times they can be so hard that you'll be on your knees and begging for a super guide.
For no particular reason, we decided to compile together a list of the top 10 hardest games we've played. Remember, we're not representing the wider gaming community here. We're talking about us, our games. So anyway, get comfy, grab a fish, and slap it onto your wall, because here we go.
Lemmings! Yep, this game starts off easy enough, with the opening levels being as simple as gargling marbles. But slowly the game gets harder and harder, with some of the later levels being so brain-taxing you'll be stumped like the Deku Tree.
Nowadays, you can always look up a guide on YouTube, but back in the day when the internet did not exist, you had only yourself to rely on. Or people, or the $10,000 strategy guide.
With its awful controls, fixed camera angles, lack of ammo, and save points, Resident Evil is undoubtedly a perfect example of the survival horror genre. It also makes for one mean game, a game that is constantly punishing you until you start crying. And then it continues to punish you. You think the game's hard as Jill? Try playing it as Chris when you start off without a gun. Like what? I mean, Chris had a gun in the intro, what did he do with it?
Published by EA and apparently marking the end of the golden era of Spanish software, Risky Woods is a challenging side-scrolling platformer that refuses to let you have a breather. With the game constantly bombarding you with enemies from left to right, you'll often progress through levels with the speed of a snail to avoid dying. Still, it's a pretty good game and you can always upgrade your gear thanks to the buffed up bald guy. Oh yeah.
When Nintendo gave FZero to Sega to produce a new installment for the GameCube, I don't think anyone would have expected the game to be this hard. Not only did the game feature ridiculous topsy-turvy racetracks, but the game also had an incredibly tough story mode that saw you trying to beat it again, and again, and again.
Just like you.
Yes, truthfully, I actually managed to beat the story mode. But afterwards, Sega goes, hey, well done, now do it on hard. And very hard too. I still love it though.
If you thought the original Super Mario Bros. Was easy, well, good for you. Although, how about its sequel? Originally released exclusively in Japan before getting the porting treatment thanks to Super Mario AllStars, introducing new poison mushrooms and tougher levels from the word go. This is undoubtedly Mario's toughest adventure in the series' history. Of course, now with Super Mario Maker letting players design their own nightmarish courses, it makes the lost levels look like a skip in the park.
Me and you and me, no matter how they toss the dice, it had to be, the only one for me is you.
I spoke to a guy once and he told me that Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade for the Sega Genesis was one of the easiest games he's played. Now, I don't know whether he was joking or being serious, but in our honest opinion, this is one of the hardest games we've ever had the privilege of playing. 9 times out of 10 we die on the second level, and the only reason Honest Reviewer actually completed it once was because he cheated.
I didn't cheat, I just used the save feature in the emulator.
That's technically cheating.
It's not cheating, they give you the emulator save feature, so it's not cheating.
Well look, the fact the game has only 4 levels just adds salt to the wound.
Welcome to Bullet Hell. Yep, I love Ikaruga as much as my Uncle Sid, but there's no denying this game will
beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it.
The game uses a challenging but highly rewarding polarity mechanic that involves switching your shield to absorb enemy bullets, as well as waves and waves of enemies to blast down. It's another short one with about 5 levels, but you won't know that considering how many times you die.
Similar to Metroid, Terrakin 2 is a side-scrolling exploration adventure game where you play as a guy in a suit, running around, blasting enemies, rolling as a spiky ball, and taking down massive bosses. Unlike Metroid, this game is as hard as nails, and you have to constantly think strategically if you want to overcome even the most simplest of enemies. Thanks to the game's tight gameplay, pretty 16-bit visuals, and fantastic Chris Helsbeck soundtrack, replaying the same levels isn't a problem, although it's still too hard.
Watch out!
With its beautiful 16-bit graphics and its subtle commentary on warfare that few, if any, modern war games have actually done as well, Fodder is a brilliant strategy game that demands to be played.
While the game starts off easy enough, the difficulty level slowly spikes up and you'll be losing your soldiers like they're going out of fashion. In fact, if you lose a soldier, that's it. They're dead. And between levels, you'll be reminded of their demise by the little pixelated gravestone in the background. Yep, this game is hard. But then again, war isn't easy.
No, we're not tricking you. Believe it or not, but Digimon World 4 is undoubtedly one of the hardest games we've played.
It's a hack-and-slash action RPG where you get to play as a popular Digimon and fight baddies with a fancy sword. Unfortunately, we've been stuck on the first level for about 10 years. It's just, we can't beat it.
To add insult to injury, the game only has 4 levels, and no amount of leveling up or exploited tricks to get more items has allowed us to see the credits roll. Now Digimon World 4 sits on our shelf as the unbeatable one, and honestly, I think it will remain that way for many more years to come.
Let's boot it up now.
Let's kick some snails!
Slugs! There's slugs!
Slugs!